And right now they're going to perform for us The Garden. Please help me welcome Anthony and the Unity Band.
Okay, so our plan was not to do this song, but then Laura had to go and read that big word, so. So you get to come back next week and hear Come and Get Your Love, because that's the one we were working on this morning to do, but see, good things come to those who wait. So this is written by that guy. His name is Eddie Watkins Jr., and he's a New Thought songwriter. He originally is from Detroit, and he played like bass. He plays everything, but he's a bass player. It's his first instrument. He played bass with Peter Frampton and the Pointer Sisters and all these famous people in Motown and all this stuff, right? So anyway, now he has a second life as a New Thought singer-songwriter, and boy, does he write some good ones. And if you're ever south of the national border, I was going to say, if you're down south, he does these tours where he does I think he calls them Miracles of Motown, where it's like a New Thought concert with Motown songs and so on, and it's very cool. Anyway, this is not Motown, it's The Garden. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, beautiful garden
excited is Jacqueline Goudreau, and she's come down from Edmonton. And if you've been listening to our announcements and reading your newsletter and looking at the bulletin board, you know that she is the Q coach who's coming down to teach our workshop next weekend, next Saturday. So we thought we would love to introduce her to the community so you can get a sense of her. And then don't rush to go and sign up. It's okay, we have enough spots for everybody. So, Jackie is a Q coach, as I mentioned. She's got 30 plus years of teaching, taking risks. She's a career and language specialist, and she has created a beautiful balanced life between family, passion, work, and inspiration. So today, she is going to tell us how to release our inner hero. Please help me welcome Jackie Goudreau.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, Calgary. Good morning. My mic is not on. Let's get this right. Check. There we go. Yeah. Good morning, Calgary. Good morning. That's better. I'm so happy to be here. And with me today is my lucky tango shoe. And I see that I'm referred to as Jacqueline on the board here. And I go by Jacqueline, and I also go by Jackie. And today I'm showing up as Tango Jackie. And I'm dropping into this quality as one of my hero Q qualities because it grounds me. And I took up tango dancing about 10 years ago, and I left teaching, about 15, 20 years of teaching, and decided that I wanted to move from social work into a more artistic life and mix that in with adventure and freelance work. So before that, I felt like I was a Jackie of all trades, and I decided I wanted to take a deep dive into some form of study, and what showed up was tango, Argentine tango, the original tango. So this is just to remind me that whenever I feel like I'm blocking the unconscious mind with too much analysis paralysis, I'll just drop into my tango mindset, which is really just a meditation of listening and dropping into the body. And so, coming to Calgary, I decided that I would show up a little early and get myself centered and have an opportunity to escape the smoky haze that descended upon Edmonton and much of the northern part of the province. I thought I was going to get out of the smoke and coming to Calgary because this was Thursday. Because the weather report, the air quality report said Calgary was a 3, Edmonton was a 6. So I thought, yes, early departure confirmed. Little did I know the smoke was following me. In fact, the smoke was probably clogging my ability to think, because usually I get out of my packing and my analysis and the list making that I need to do before I leave town. By the time I hit Nisku, which is right about the airport, and sometimes it takes me a little longer, and the Leduc overpass where I sort of drop into that meditation mindset of traveling along the beautiful Queen Elizabeth to get to Calgary. But somehow I was feeling a little more anguish and turmoil than usual. I had a family member in the hospital, and so I wanted to get there. And so I missed my last opportunity Leduc turnoff. And if any of you have traveled from Edmonton to Calgary, you might know there's no gas station until Red Deer, and unless you meander through the countryside. And this was not what I wanted to do on that particular day. So I'm feeling my heart race a little. What do I do? All these what ifs, and the analytical brain is taking over, and sort of reaching for a Q quality here and there, and it's not coming right away. So I'm just letting it be, and realize that I'm not going to turn around and make an attempt until I get to an overpass that makes sense. Because the little livestock crossing is just not going to do it. I'm going to end up in an accident, and my brain is starting to get hijacked, and I do not want to pull off. I decide that I'm going to Google map fast gas, small town Alberta. For some reason, there's a lot of fast gas stations, and it says Kavanaugh, closest stop. Has anyone ever traveled along Highway 2A? I believe that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay, we got someone here. 2A. And next is Millet, followed by Wetaskiwin, on through Ponoka. So, I'm like, okay, this is the exact path that made me sleep through my childhood. My grandfather actually had a farm just outside of Millet, and my mom grew up in that area. So I'm a true northern Albertan gal. I have Ukrainian roots on one hand and French-Canadian roots on the other, so two big pioneer settlements. So here I am, having to meander, and I realized that I'm going to drop the victim consciousness and just go with the flow. These are a couple of my shadow qualities that I recognize as a pattern. So one of them is, I am a victim. Another one is, I am so stupid. So here I was, dropping into the blame game and shaming myself for not being aware and moving into that monkey mind state and being a bit of a squirrel girl, as I call it, when my mind. So I decided, okay, it's time to reach in and grab one of my Q qualities, which is also known as a hero quality. And for those of you that join me in the fireside after, we're gonna drop into an exercise where we get to move out of our personality, bypass the ego, and find out what's hidden beneath that and what really our soul wants to express and what's trying to emerge from us. And have an opportunity to look at both sides of the shadow experience. How many of you have done shadow work in the past? Okay, that's great. So some of you know what I'm talking about. So this is a dance we do. It's a two-sided dance. And very often we live in, I think Dr. Joseph's in that part of our brain where 95% of us is in a negative state. And often we don't know what's running us. And so he's famous for saying that people tell you to quit being so negative, but really, this is 95% of who we are a lot of the time. Until we take a moment, notice that we're below the line, and we reach for something else. Now, luckily, Abraham Maslow came along after Freud, along with a contemporary, Assagioli, that's a mouthful. And they discovered something called the golden shadow. This was new learning for me. I had done shadow work before the Q process, and I had never heard of the golden shadow. The golden shadow is that part of us that projects outward, just like the shadow, the unconscious shadow, our darker qualities. But instead we project our brilliance out onto other people. So there's this part of us that is really drawn to qualities that show up in our everyday heroes, mentors, family members that we admire. And when we start to look at those patterns, we realize that that's really where our genius lives. But here's the trick. Trying to access that means that we have to look at the shadow. So I like to use the image of a mirror, or I'll call it a tool of a mirror. And when we shine a light on our shadow self, we now have an opportunity to see the gift, see what's behind that. And then the smoke clears, and we get a chance to see that really there's a mirror behind that, and that everything we do is a projection of what's going on in the interior, in our interior world. So the mirror. The mirror reflects our brilliance, and it also reflects the areas that we want to make friends with and take along as a friend. We don't want to destroy or get rid of our shadow. We might want to give it a name and give it a space in our life. But really, it's also a gift, because from that we realize that we have to dig deeper and really discover and unearth the genius within us. And our genius is congruent with our deepest void. I learned this when I was about second year of university, second or third year, when I transferred to University of Alberta. And I wanted to become a career counselor and a language teacher. And I was sent to the language lab. Actually, in this case, it was the career lab, to do personality inventories. And I did inventory after inventory, needing to get familiar with this material. And over and over and over, the message was that we needed to examine our biggest needs, because those what gave us, that was the piece that was giving us our drive in life. So figuring out what was most missing, perfectly congruent with our biggest gift. So there it is, embracing the two sides, the shadow. So I had done some shadow work prior to this, and it was a little bit on the heady side. It was extremely helpful. And I still pull pieces of that when I do the Q process. I found the Q process to be something that was rooted in community. So there was a higher chance that there would be a structure of support, which I knew to be the key to success when it comes to taking on a new practice. In Edmonton at CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, where I've been a member for 27 years now, we've embraced the idea of a common language, and for us it's a couple of different things, but one of them is the Q process. And this is a system, it's a workbook. It's a 21-day practice that helps people root this awareness into a practice and into a habit in their lives. And we decided to take on this community language and to re-invite everyone in the community to do this over and over and over again. So I've done it about 4 times now. And the patterns that have emerged were quite startling to me. And the things that I thought I needed to work on were probably not what I expected. There was a lot of fear. I thought maybe there was just more lack going on in my life, but fear showed up as the top quality that I needed to take a look at. So the Q process. This is a process that also has the benefit of dropping you into compassion. We start with an everyday trigger in life. So any kind of paper cut, we start with a gentle process of something that is maybe a 2 or 3 on the stress scale, and we want to have a look at that and root that into reflection and a chance to get in touch with our body and what's going on. And so the next step is to drop into our feelings and into any kind of sensory information that's going on in the body. And once we have that awareness, we can then drop into nurturing. And this is where the compassion piece comes in. And the tool of looking at our younger self and recognizing that unless we move into a space of learning how to take care of that part of ourselves, that we are going to fumble when it comes to being able to offer that out to others. So the compassion piece was the biggest wake up for me, realizing that there aren't a lot of role models on how to do a great job of looking after ourselves. Then we move into gratitude and appreciation for the gift of learning what has shown up in that reflection. The next step is to look at the part of us that is most missing, that deep void. And so there's 4 major groups. I call them the 4 food groups. And we have a chance to look at what those 4 areas are. Following that, we move into action. And this is where we access our Q quality or our hero quality. So once we come up with 7 qualities that we're wanting to embody, this is not a fixed list, but we have something called a Q card. And the Q card is double-sided. One side is for the shadow qualities, where we ask for others to have compassion when we show up as being that side of ourselves. And the other side is for our hero qualities that we're trying to move into, that we are moving into, that which we are coming to be. So in the last step, the action step, it's a unique action because it has a concrete beginning and end. And it's a small 5-minute favor that we offer ourselves. And it gets rooted in the body, into ritual, into sensory information. But it's really only valuable if we are able to create a felt sense of the missing need, along with the hero quality that we think would most likely lift us out of that space. So it joins these 2 ideas, and it brings together a really powerful and potent action where the body gets dropped in and anchored into a new behavior. And so to me, this piece is really the piece that will make all the difference in terms of letting go and doing the release and creating the space and the energy. It takes a lot of energy to move into awareness when we're trying to shift patterns, shift and grow. So I want to leave you with my idea of the mirror. And this is just part of the toolkit that I would like for you to take with you when you go out into the world and you start to look at your shadow. So remember the mirror. And the mirror is an acronym for where you might want to go when you're having a look at what's happening outside of yourself and when you move into enemy territory. The M stands for master. I stands for inner. R, resources. So master your inner resources. A resourcefulness that lives deep within yourself. R, ritualize. So add a beautiful picture, add sensory detail, bathe it in gratitude, bathe it in color. Own the qualities that you want to be. And finally, R, run with it or dance with it, as I choose to do. Move your body. This is the piece that will drop you into the new way of being and who you've come to be. So if you're interested in joining me for a fireside, we're going to meet, I think, here in the sanctuary before long. And you can learn more about your hero qualities, if that's what you want as a takeaway. You can also learn more about how you can root those into practice. And we're going to talk about a 21-day hero challenge. Thank you for sharing this day with me. I look forward to seeing you shortly.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to take that information into meditation. We're going to begin by singing I Am Opening. Anthony's going to lead us. I will then lead the guided meditation, and then we'll sing I Am Opening again, once again to come out.
I am opening. I am opening.
invite you to take a deep breath in and let it go. And as you let it go, letting go of any thoughts, any worries. Taking another deep, beautiful breath in and letting it go. Making yourself present to yourself, to this moment. I invite you to take your hand and put it on your heart. For our heart is the portal where we are connected to all that is. And on your next breath in, I invite you to imagine that you are breathing through your heart chamber. The air flowing in and out. And taking your awareness to the soles of your feet. And imagining that you have roots growing out of the soles of your feet, going down, down, down into Mother Earth. Connecting with her support, her love. And imagining now that all that support, that love, that peace is rising up through those roots, through all the layers of Mother Earth, up, 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 and into the soles of our feet. And as it rises through our body, up our legs, it begins to send out a vibration of love and peace through all the cells of your body. It rises up your legs, into your torso, through your stomach, your lungs, up your back, down your shoulders. Every cell vibrating that beautiful vibration of love and peace. Drawing that up, drawing up the strength from Mother Earth. And as you do this, you are connecting to the truth of who you are. All those places within that are wounded and need a little extra love, need your love, need your compassion. Allowing that love to wash in and through all the places in your being, illuminating those dark shadows where our genius lives. The genius of you. And I invite you to feel tremendous gratitude for all of you. For the parts that you know, the parts that you don't know. Knowing that everything unfolds in its right and perfect time. That you are here today by divine appointment. You heard the call of your soul. It's time to release your inner hero. It's time to recognize those places of hurt within and give them compassion and love that they need. For in this moment you are open to receive the love, the compassion, and the support. And to know the magnificence of who you truly are. And on your next breath in, bringing your awareness back to the room, feeling your feet on the floor as you open to receive even more. thank you so much, Jackie. And as she mentioned, she is going to do a fireside chat, which is going to give you a little taste of what the Q process is about. So after we're finished here this morning, you can get your coffee, you can have a little visiting time, and then we'll start around 12:15 to 12:30. So that if you want to get a little bit more information, experience a little bit for yourself, you can do that in the fireside chat. And Jackie, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction to what it's all about, because really, it's about knowing yourself at the deepest level and bringing to conscious awareness all the ways in which you show up, which then gives you the power, as Anthony said, to choose how you want to show up in the world, right? But if we're not aware, then we don't have the choice, right? It just happens without our conscious awareness. So this is a really beautiful way of experiencing spiritual awakening, right? And I would say it's the antidote to spiritual bypass, which we can sometimes go into, right? Which is that tendency to just want to, ignore the problems and rise above it with some, spiritual platitudes instead of really digging into what's going on. So that's what the Q process is all about, fireside chat. And I'll have a little bit more details about the workshop later. All right, thank you. Thank you.